Yo, what's up guys, Cody here, back at this new video, and in today's video I'll be ranking all the accessories in Blox Fruits. Well, recently I made a tier list of devil fruits and also swords, so I was like, why not make a tier list of accessories as well. So yeah, in this video we're gonna be ranking all the accessories in Blox Fruits. Also, if you guys are excited for the video, make sure to hit that like button, and also thank you guys so much for hitting the subscribe button. We are already up to 17.2k subscribers. Let's try to get to 18k as soon as we can. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. So here is the tier list, and as you guys can see, here are all the accessories that you can find in Blox Fruits. I can already see some really OP accessories down here. So yeah, without wasting any more time, I think let's get into it. So the first accessory that we have is the CHOPPA. This is actually a pretty common accessory and a really easy one to obtain. What you guys have to do is just kill a sea beast and you have a 25% chance of this getting dropped. It gives you an extra 3% devil fruit damage, 15% reduction on the cooldowns, and lastly 10% defensive buff against devil fruit users, which means that this accessory should be used by devil fruit users. And I would say the buffs of this are actually pretty good, considering it's actually pretty easy to obtain, but still it's gonna go in the bad tier for me. Then the next one we have is the top hat, and this is also dropped by the sea beasts. What this one gives you is an additional 3% damage on melee attacks, 10% cooldowns of every single move that you have, so that is actually very OP, and also 10% damage reduction against sword users. So yeah, this accessory is meant for the sword users, but still I would say it is actually a pretty bad one. Then next we have the warrior helmet. The warrior helmet is actually pretty good for the sword users. It gives you an additional 12.5% extra damage on swords and also melee attacks, so your main source of damage would be 12% increased, and that is very OP, and also gives you 5% reduction in the cooldowns of sword moves as well. So this one is actually going in the decent tier. It's a lot better than both of these down here. Next one we have is the SWAN glasses. These ones actually have a lot of buffs. First buff is you are 25% more faster than usual, like your movement speed is a lot more faster. Then it gives you an additional 8% damage on every single moves that you guys do. Also gives you 8% reduction on cooldown, so your moves are gonna be back 8% faster, and also gives you 8% defense buff, in which you take 8% less damage from every single move that your opponent does. And lastly gives you 250 health and 250 stamina. This is actually a pretty OP accessory and will be going in the must use section. So this is the zebra cap. This one is actually very weird because it gives you mixed buffs, which are actually not good for a sword user and not even good for a devil fruit user. I'll explain it. It gives you 500 energy and 100 HP, also gives you 10% extra damage on sword attacks, and also gives you 15% reduction in the cooldowns of devil fruit moves. So that's how this is actually a very mixed accessory. So if you guys are a sword user, you would need the 10% sword damage stat, and if you guys are the devil fruit users, you would need the minus 15% cooldown reductions. So it is actually a very mixed accessory, and it's not particularly good for a single purpose, so that's why I'm going to be ranking it in the decent tier. Next we have the GHOUL mask. This one is actually very OP. It gives you 500 energy and also gives you 10% leech buff, which means that if you guys deal damage to your opponents, 10% of the damage will be healed. You're basically damaging your opponent and healing yourself. Yeah, GHOUL mask is actually a really OP accessory to use in PvP and definitely going in the must use section. So then we have the blue spiky coat. This one gives you 500 energy and 250 health, and also gives you a 7.5% defense buff, which essentially makes it a pretty OP accessory if you ask me. But I would say it doesn't compare to the accessories of the third C, so I'm going to be ranking it in the very good section. Next accessory we have is the brother of the blue spiky coat, the red spiky coat. This one is actually pretty OP as well. It gives you quite the opposite of the blue spiky coat, and the buffs are 250 energy, 500 health, and 7.5% damage buff, which makes the red spiky coat an offensive accessory. So that means that if you are equipping this, you are going to be dealing more damage. But I would choose the red spiky coat above the blue spiky coat. So yeah. Then the next one we have is a very straightforward accessory and a really OP one. It is the Valkyrie helmet. This gives you 600 HP and 600 energy, which is a really good buff, and also an additional 15% sword damage. If you guys are using swords as your main damage source, this one is a really OP accessory for you and you should definitely use it. You're going to be dealing 15% more damage, and that is a lot in a PvP match. Then we have the Black Cape. This is a very bad accessory, to be honest. It just gives you 100 health and 100 energy and also 5% damage buff. So I think there's no point of you using this accessory, so it definitely goes in the never used section. Next we have the Hunter's Cape, one of my favorite accessories in the game. Well, these have 3 different colors and all of them work as the same accessory. It gives you plus 80% run speed, which is just super good, especially in the meta nowadays. Like, speed matters a lot and it is very OP. Also gives you 10% extra damage on sword, melee or gun, and also gives you 750 health. So it is actually a very broken accessory and a really good one to use in PvP. Then we have the Bandana, quite opposite of the Hunter's Cape. This one gives you 750 energy and 10% damage on everything except Blox Fruits, and also gives you plus 80% movement speed, just the same as Hunter's Cape. But I would suggest you guys to use the Hunter's Cape, not this one, because it is a bit better than this. Then we have the Pretty Helmet, gives you 500 health, 250 energy, and also 10% damage on melee attacks and 12.5% damage reduction against melee attacks. So it's an accessory based on melee attacks, and that is not very good, neither very bad. So it's just gonna go in the decent tier for me. Then the next one we have is the Jaw Shield. This is very similar to the Pretty Helmet. It gives you 500 energy, 250 health, then also 50% more movement speed, which is actually pretty good, and also 12.5% damage buff on melee attacks and 10% damage reduction against melee attacks. So this is also based on the melee attacks, but I think it is a bit more better than the Pretty Helmet. Then moving on, we have the Musketeer hat. This one is actually very OP and gives you 12.5% increased damage in your sword and your gun attacks, and also 12.5% cooldown reduction of both of these as well, which makes it a really OP sword if you guys are actually a sword main or a gun main. So definitely a very good accessory. Next we have the Pilot Helmet. This one is actually pretty weird and gives you 250 health, 250 energy, and a whopping 130% movement speed buff, which makes it the fastest accessory in the game. And on the side, it just gives you 10% faster health regen, which is actually pretty decent, to be honest, but still it's going to be staying in the decent tier. It doesn't deserve to be any higher than this. Then we have Lee or Lai, or I don't know what to call it, but this one is actually a very broken accessory in the game. It just basically makes you regen twice as fast, which is actually very good, especially if you guys are using a very tanky build. For example, if you guys are using like Diamond as your fruit or Leopard as your fruit, this accessory can be insanely OP in that, because you can just heal yourself back and just continue the fight. So definitely a must use accessory. Then the next one we have are the Bear Ears. These ones are very simple, give you 10% damage reduction against every single attack in the game, so it's a defensive accessory, and also gives you 500 energy. So it is actually a pretty decent accessory to use if you guys are going for that tanky build. Then we have the next one, which is the Golden Sun Hat. Gives you 10% damage buff on every single attack, which is I guess pretty good, and also gives you 500 health. So yeah, it is above average, so it's gonna be in the very good section but not any higher. Then next we have the Holy Crown. This one is actually pretty OP. It gives you 5% defense against every single attack that your opponent does, also gives you 5% more damage on every single attack that you do, and gives you 500 energy, which is actually pretty good of an accessory. So it's gonna be in the very good section. Next we have the Swordsman hat. Just basically gives you 10% extra sword damage, so you know you can't go wrong with that. But yeah, I would say there are a lot better accessories than this, especially for sword mains. So yeah. Then the next one we have is the Pale Scarf. Pale Scarf is actually pretty good, gives you 15% extra damage on Devil Fruit attacks and also on sword attacks, so can be used for multiple reasons. Also gives you 2 extra dodges in your observation haki, which is pretty good as well. And also lastly, it buffs your observation haki vision, so you can see up to 10 times the distance, which is very useful. So yeah, definitely a top tier accessory if you ask me. Then next we have the Santa Hat. Gives you 12.5% extra damage on swords and also on Devil Fruits, and also gives you 400 energy and 400 health. Also you run 30% more faster than usual. So back in the day this was one of the best accessories, but now the accessories of the third C are a bit more better, but still this is very OP. Then the next one we have is the Elf Hat. This gives you 20% faster run speed, 10% extra damage on fighting style attacks and also on sword attacks, and gives you 5% reduction in cooldowns of these moves as well. So it is actually a pretty good accessory. Next we have the Pink Coat, which just gives you 200 health. Not a pretty good one to be honest, so gonna go in the bad tier. Then we have the Tomoe Rings, which gives you 10% extra damage on Devil Fruits, and as we saw that there are a lot more better accessories than this one, so it's gonna go in the bad tier. Next we have the Voice Admiral's Coat. Simply gives you 200 energy and 10% extra damage on melee attacks. So yeah, there's basically no use of this accessory, so it's gonna go in the bad tier as well. Next we have the Cool Shades. These gives you 17.5% faster run speed, 10% extra damage on every single attack in the game, and also gives you 100 energy and 100 health, which is actually pretty good. So it's gonna go in the decent tier for me. Next we have the USOAP'S hat. It gives you 7.5% extra gun damage and also 15% reduction in their move cooldowns, which is very good for gun mains, and I will be using this accessory in the near future as well. Then the next one we have is the Dark Coat, which is a very good accessory for Devil Fruit users. Gives you 600 health, 600 energy, and also 15% more damage on Devil Fruit attacks, which makes it a pretty OP accessory. Then next we have the Marine Cap, which gives 7.5% extra damage on sword and gun attacks, and also 10% cooldown reduction of both of these attacks as well, which makes it actually a decent accessory. Then we have the Black Spiky Coat, which is also the last accessory of the tier list, and this one is actually a pretty decent one. Gives you 7.5% universal damage, so that means like every single move that you do 7.5% more damage, and also gives you a simple 200 health and 200 energy. So yeah, it's gonna be going in the decent tier as well. So this is the end of the tier list, and I hope you guys enjoyed and found something helpful, and if you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what types of videos you guys want me to make in the near future. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.